A world where two short-term rental bros come together.
What?
Not in that way, bro. There's a podcast of truly epic proportions where we talk about all things short-term rental and shoot the shit along the way. Welcome to the Co-Host Bros Podcast. Here are your hosts, Matt Codd and Austin Spitz.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Co-Host Bros Podcast. My name is Matt Codd and I'm here with Austin Spitz, and we have a special guest today, Joe Rohne. What's going on, Joe?
Not too much, man. How you guys doing?
Living the dream. I think Austin just moved, so it's been a while since we've been able to connect here.
Yeah. Been out of pocket a little bit. Just dealing with the move. We moved from Houston to New Braunfels, so a little closer to the market that we're in. We keep, getting clients and scaling. So I kind of wanted to be a little more in the area. So been going through that headache and dealing with the move stuff. But it's been fun, and happy to be back. Nice, cool. Well, yeah. Well, so Joe, let's get into it, man. Go ahead. Tell us a little bit, if you want to give us a little rundown on your background and how you got here. And, we know you're big into the co-hosting space. So why don't you go ahead, tell us a little bit about yourself. So I actually spent 15 years in the corporate world, and Sears, Lowe's, did all the corporate stuff for a long time. And had a little thing that happened back in 2013 that kind of changed the course of our life, and quit my six-figure job and started mowing grass for a living, and had a lawn landscape business for about 8 or 9 years. And while I was doing that business, all I did was read Audible books. I probably read 30, 40, 50 books a year constantly. And then I decided I really wanted to get into real estate. So I just started reading nothing but real estate Audible books, and wanted to figure out what type of real estate I wanted to be in. That led me to get into the investing, which led into short-term rentals, and got my real estate license about 4.5 years ago in the St. Louis market, just to kind of get into the space part-time while I was still at my lawn and landscape business. And as I was doing that, I really, really wanted to get into real estate investing. It was really hard at the time because I was coaching both of my daughter's select softball teams. I coached one summer. I coached 108 games between the two of them. So there really was no time to jump into a whole new space until the day that my youngest daughter, decided to hang up her softball cleats. That was like July 25th in 2022. And we wrote an offer on our first short-term rental about 8 days later. And since then, it's been 100% go, all short-term rentals. Which has led me into the co-hosting space. So currently I own 2 short-term rentals in Panama City Beach. I co-host 6 others in that market and 2 in the Branson market. So that's a quick little rundown. Oh, I can't hear you, Austin.
I think you lost your audio there, Austin.
I'm back. There it is.
Oh, there
I was
we go.
on mute. Rookie mistake there. My apologies, guys. But no, I was going to ask, what
Blooper.
Yeah, we'll just cut that out. Not really, because we don't cut anything out. But I was going to ask, Joe, what's your take with you going all in on the Panama City Beach market? What's your take on kind of the difference between being all in one market versus kind of being spread out and having a bunch of profitable properties in different markets? Because I kind of have the same logic of, I like to be in one area and just be the best operator there. I mean, what's your kind of take on that?
I think for growing a co-host business, it's definitely the best play, right? Because you get your boots on the ground, you get your multiple people, and the myth is all you need is a handyman and a cleaner, and you're going to be fine. When the reality is you need to have multiple people, to be able to count on. So being in one market, I have 3 different cleaning companies between my 8 properties. I got 2 different handymen that handle my properties. I got a pool cleaner, got a landscape guy. So electrician, plumber. So I have all of my resources in one area, and I don't have to call on it. Now I am in the Branson market, and that's where I got my first co-hosting client at. It's a little bit easier for me to run that because it's only about a 3.5 hour drive from my house. So if I got to be there, I can be there really quickly. But I only have 2 properties there. I'm not really looking to grow there. I'm really going to continue to grow my co-host business in the Panama City Beach market and really just continue to focus on that.
So why between the two markets? What makes you choose between one versus the other? Is one just a little bit more profitable, or are you just having more momentum? What's the deal?
Oh, for sure. I mean, in a beach market, a luxury beach house, the most recent property that we took over to co-host, it has revenue potential to hit $250,000 a year, which is going to be, a beast of a house. We're going down on the 29th to do our complete redesign and setup for that house, where the top properties in the Branson market, you're 125, 150. There might be a few here and there that can exceed that, but it's few and far between. It's a lot more smaller properties. And, if you want to make a big impact in co-hosting and change your life, luxury properties is the way to go.
Plus the same amount of work too, right? So that 125 is going to be just as much time as it's going to take you to make that 200.
Exactly.
Or 250.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah, you think about it too. If you do 20% on a $250,000 house, I mean, that's a lot of people's salary on one house right there. So, and to y'all's point, yeah, that's one thing Bill told me when I met him is kind of what he was explaining, that the 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom takes the same amount of work and the same amount of headaches than, a six-bedroom, 5-bedroom plus house. So yeah, you're gonna do the same amount of work anyway. So that's kind of one thing for me. That's how my mindset is kind of focused and shifted to trying to gear more towards getting these profitable properties than quantity.
Yep. And I agree. I mean, you guys interviewed Patrick Switek a couple weeks ago. Loved that podcast. And I love the idea of having, a property management company of 100 plus properties or 200 properties. But man, that sounds really stressful, so 10 luxury properties that can make me $500,000 a year. I mean, I think that sounds like a lot of fun. Right.
I think Patrick's a go for the gusto kind of guy. He just wants to do it as big as possible, which is amazing. I mean, that's great motivation for everybody else and good inspiration. But it's like, at the same time, can everybody else scale to that? I don't think everybody could. I think some people can, but some other people don't want to, right? Unless that's your goal. And I think that's his goal. Like he said, his goal is to make like 10 million a year. So it's I'd be happy with half.
Yeah, I think it comes down to long-term goals too. Like Patrick's is he's like 25, 26 maybe. So he's in his early to mid 20s. So his long-term goals are probably just a lot different than what Joe's long-term goals are at this point, just because, everybody has a different end goal in mind, and, he's a pretty young guy. So.
Yep. Yep.
And thanks for listening to the podcast. Forgot to add that. So thank you. So you told us you were starting a new co-hosting program to try to help people learn how to co-host and start co-hosting like straight from scratch, right? If I don't know nothing right off the street, I can get with you and learn how to start co-hosting.
Yeah, I mean, my first mastermind program, which I started last June, which Austin was, one of the original members of that, and still is a very big contributing member to this day. We started last June, and I think between the 9 of us, we had a total of 2 co-hosting properties, which was my 2 in Branson. As of last June. And currently today in that group, I think we're sitting at 27 co-host properties between everybody in that group. So, pretty excited about that. So about 3 months ago, actually, after the conference, Bill and Mike's conference a few months ago, I had a lot of people reach out to me that wanted to jump into the co-hosting space. So I started a paid program of being able to help some people launch. And I do have one rule. You have to own a short-term rental. There are so many people that want to jump into the co-hosting space that, they don't know anything about it. They don't have any skin in the game. They don't own anything themselves, and they just want to make money, managing other people's properties. And I just, I'm not a fan of that. I think you need to have skin in the game if you really want to be successful in this business. And that's the kind of people that I want to teach. So currently have 4 people. We were in week 7 last week. And in those 3 of those 4 people have already signed on their first co-hosting client in the first 7 weeks. So pretty pumped about that. and going to have a new program starting in 1st of June. And I think we already have 5 members signed up, but I'm looking to get a total of 10. So I currently have about 5 spots open.
It's awesome. So that's cool. If you give us that information, we can put that in the show notes as well, if that's what you want to do. So you have a real estate license in St. Louis and in Florida, correct? Is that right?
That is correct.
Or in Missouri?
Yep. So I'm actually a real estate broker or a broker associate in St. Louis. I got my full broker's license in Missouri this past year. I've been a realtor here for over 4 years. But when I jumped into the Panama City space, the realtor that actually helped me find my first property, me and her just kind of really hit it off. And she's like, there are so few agents in Florida that actually truly understand short-term rentals, how to underwrite them, how to, find the right deals, how to run the numbers. And she's like, you need to get your license and work with me down here. So I did. Unfortunately, she switched her brokerage to a national brokerage, so I couldn't switch because I would have had to switch my license in both states, and I do not want to switch my license here in Missouri. So I started working for Anchor Realty down there. Closed 3 deals just in the last 6 weeks. I got a few more under contract, and continue to find good profitable short-term rentals in a tough market, because it is definitely not easy down there.
So you're managing houses virtually and you're selling houses virtually, or you're helping people buy houses virtually, right?
I am, but I am even though I live in St. Louis, I'm in Panama City Beach about every 3 to 4 weeks. I had an investor buy a house in Destin about 3 weeks ago. I was in the market. I did a video tour with them. We got it under contract, and then I flew down and met them for inspections, got to take them on a little market tour. We did inspections on the house, and then we'll be closing on that, I think, the 14th of May. So even though I am doing it virtually, I'm also still in the market a lot. So whether I'm driving or flying, I was there last week for 3 days, and I'm driving next Sunday to be there for 7 days. So I'm still down there a lot.
Except for your house is booked every time you go, right? No, I'm just kidding.
So the last time it was booked, and we had to I had to get a hotel room for a couple nights. But between the houses that I co-host and the ones that I own, if I have work to do at a co-host property, my co-host clients allow me to stay in that house if there's nobody there. It's kind of just a verbal agreement that we have, and they're fine with it. I let them know if I'm going to be in the market, and if my house is booked, I can stay at one of theirs. But that was during March spring break, and every single house that I had pretty much was fully booked for the month of March. So there was definitely no houses to stay in.
Nice. So your model is straight like escrow, right? It's just traditional. You run an escrow account because you have a brokerage license, or how do you do it?
No, I run it in the full co-host model. So I actually, even though I am a realtor and a broker, and I could do it through the traditional property management method, I prefer the co-host model. I like the fact that I'm not handling the escrow and the funds. I like the fact that the owner gets to have the account in their name. So if they decide to self-manage someday, or switch to somebody else, or whatever it may be, it's just an easy transition to transition it over to them. And they really like it that way. I'm still the primary host on each account, but I still run it in the co-host model.
Okay. So you just invoice every month? You'll invoice your clients. Have you ever not got paid?
No issues there. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a partnership. If I'm going to, when I sit down and talk to a potential client to co-host for them, I'm really, really big on telling them, like, this is a partnership deal. We're in this together. The only way I'm going to be successful is if their house is successful. And, I have quarterly calls with them, try to keep them up to date when I can, if there's any issues. I've not had any issues. Actually, I'd say half of mine pay the invoice within 24 hours of me sending it. I send it on the 1st of every month, and I'm usually paid by the 2nd or the 3rd. They're really, really good owners so far.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So
you have something else?
Go ahead.
Okay, I can keep going.
No, go for it. You got
it. No, go ahead. So when you charge them to co-host, are you charging them a percentage, or is it a sliding scale, or are you charging everybody the same thing?
Currently, it's the same percentage for everybody. I do charge a monthly tech fee plus that percentage. And then something that we do, we will not take over a property that doesn't meet our standards. So in every single house that we have taken on, we've had to go in and do redesign, set up. My wife is a designer, so she'll go in and take a look at the house. We'll take pictures. She'll put together design boards, and we'll present it to the owner and say, "Hey, this is what we think needs to happen in order for your house to be able to, exceed expectations and hit the numbers that we think it can. And if you want us to manage it, we have to do this. There is no, do you want to do this? It's you either do this or we don't manage your property." And, we only want to have properties that are going to be high performing properties. So if it doesn't meet our standards, we won't manage it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've gotten to a point basically where you provide a well enough service that you can only take on so much, and you're very selective with the properties that you're going to take on, because you obviously want those to meet your specs and standards, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we just brought on our eighth co-host property last week. The property last year was mismanaged; only it did less than $30,000 a year, and it was a 3-3 about a block and a half from the beach with an in-ground pool, on a property that should easily do 110 to 125 a year. And so we went in and spent 2 long days, 12-hour days, going in and putting in new bunk beds and built some bed frames and got rid of the bed skirts that were there, redid some decor, redid some furniture, and got it up and running. Had my photographer come in and do video and regular photography. So when I have my photographer comes in, he does both for me. He does vertical and horizontal videos for me, so I can use that for the website and for marketing, as well as getting the professional pictures.
Nice. That's awesome, man. I love that. Hey, one question I wanted to ask you. So it seems like you've got a lot of things going on. You got co-hosting. You've got selling houses. Seems like those go hand in hand. You got the daycare business. How do you manage the day to day of doing all of these things? And as long term, are you planning to consolidate everything pretty much into co-hosting and real estate?
It's interesting. I actually saw an investor yesterday, put a message on his page, and it said, "If you're not overwhelmed every day, you're not trying hard enough." Right. Right. I mean, and it is, it's very overwhelming, but I put together my plan each day of what I need to do. I use Grant Cardone's 10X planner, which has been life changing for me. So the night before, I write out my hour by hour, for the next day of what I'm going to do, so I can try to get all of my tasks done. And they don't always get done, because it is a lot to juggle. And then obviously in real estate, I can't plan everything because, yesterday I was supposed to, do a few things for my co-host business in the morning. And I had a client call me that wanted to go look at a couple houses, and had to drop what I was doing to go look at a few houses and then push that to later in the day. So there are daily adjustments that have to happen in this business, but it's really important to stay organized and plan out your day.
Would you say getting into real estate was the best decision you ever made?
Oh, by far. I mean, and it was something I always wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do it. Actually, quick little tidbit. My wife was actually a realtor before we bought our daycare. So back in 2005, 2006, she actually got her real estate license. I think she only closed 3 deals. It definitely wasn't her niche. She had a passion for early childhood, and so we ended up finding a daycare center to purchase back in 2007. And we did what everyone says not to do. We put all our eggs in one basket. We cashed out all the equity of our house, cashed out our 401ks, all of our savings, and even borrowed about $10,000 from a family member to be able to get the down payment for our daycare business. And but that was probably, I say real estate was the best decision, but buying that daycare was the biggest life-changing decision we ever made.
So what in your life caused you to all of a sudden go, because I mean that's where everybody transitions from, right? You're in the corporate world, you're in Lowe's, you're in Home Depot's, you're doing these kinds of things, you're working your way up the ladder. What transitions you to say, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna go do this? Like what pushed you over that edge to open up your mind to that area?
Honestly, April Fool's Day, back in 2013, my daughter, I watched her get run over by the mailman. And it was the scariest thing that I've ever witnessed. I was home from work. She was 5 years old. Her and my daughter were both off school, as well as my godson. They were riding scooters in the front yard. I was on the phone actually with my wife, and our mail lady handed out candy to all the kids. Every time they came around, I was watching through the window, and the mail lady was on the other side of the street. We lived in a regular suburban subdivision at the time. And, my daughter was asking about candy on our side of the street. And she's like, yes, I'll get it when I come around. And all of a sudden, the mail lady looked down at the mail for the next stop and hit the gas. And at that same moment, my daughter ran across the street right in front of the mail truck. And I watched her go underneath it. And the tires went up and over her pelvis and ended up breaking her pelvis. And called an ambulance. And, it was a life-changing moment. It was one of those moments that, I was making the most I'd ever made at the time. Our daycare was really successful. I was making six figures. I was traveling 3 weeks a month. I was gone all the time. And I thought that's what you do in this world. You keep traveling, you keep working up, and someday I'll be a vice president or a president or whatever it may be. And that's how you get ahead in life. And that day God said, you're going down the wrong path. And I got a different plan for you. And 2 weeks later, I put in my notice at Sears. I was a district manager, and I bought a lawn business and started cutting grass for $500 a week, and grew that to a six-figure lawn business within 2 years. But that was the defining moment right there. On a side note, my daughter has made a 100% full recovery. She played, did cheerleading, played softball. She's sophomore in high school and, doing fantastic. But it definitely was the defining moment of our family.
So it pushed you over the edge to just, it's not worth it. All this time I'm spending away not to be around my family and my child. Yeah, that's tough.
After that, I coached both their softball teams. I never missed a cheerleading tournament, because when I was traveling, I was missing out. They were 5 and 8, and I missed out on a lot of stuff when they were young. So after that, I never missed another game, never missed another practice. And, family became first.
So that realization, yeah. So that realization kind of made you realize what's important, and you just were kind of like, I'm not going to dedicate all this. I'm not going to, miss out on, sporting events, and just you kind of really just wanted to have that extra time with your daughters. Is basically what it came out to, huh?
Yep. And I almost went into real estate at that time, but I knew being a real estate agent, growing a real estate business, it was going to take me evenings, weekends, being away from my family again. So I was like, you know what, doing a lawn business, I can set my own hours. I can get as much grass as I want to cut, do whatever landscape jobs I wanted to be done. I could be done at 3:00 to pick them up from school. They went to a private school, so I could make sure I was done on time to be able to pick them up and be able to do what I wanted to do with them. And did that until, like I said, until my daughter hung up her softball cleats a couple years ago. And then I knew it was go time. It was time to go to that next step.
You're an adaptable dude. You've been to every side of the ladder everywhere you go. So, district manager at Sears to the lawn guy. My neighbor owns a lawn company. Shout out Superior Lawn Care. But anyway, yeah. And then you go to real estate agent, to co-host. Now you're coaching people. I mean, you were already coaching. You originally, you were coaching people already. You already coached people. Now you're expanding to coach more people. And me and Austin have talked about it several times. Like, really, it's the connections, the conversations you have with people that change your trajectory, right? So it's like, people recommend people, or someone might say something that might stick with another person. So really being around people is what, around people thinking the same way, right? So do you have people that are around you that helped you, were influential to you in your business?
Yeah, I mean, when I jumped into the business, I mean, I read every book, from Avery Carl's book to, listening to podcasts. And I knew I wanted to join someone's program to be able to help me get to that next level. And, I interviewed with, Mike Sjogren's program and Bill Faye's program and Kyle Stanley, and, just talked to a lot of people in the space. And I really resonated with Bill Faith and what he had going on. So I actually joined his first accelerator program a couple years ago that he had. And I knew I wanted to be in the room with some of the best in the business and learn from the best in the business. So that's why I joined that accelerator program, and got to be able to be around the Kenny Bedwell and John Hodge and Jeff Hampton and, all these great people in this industry. And of course, Bill Faith. And from there, that's how I developed and met a few of the people that are in my current mastermind that were also in that accelerator program with me. And then went to that conference 2 years ago. That's where I met Austin and Zach, and just kind of grew from there. And said, you know what, I don't need to spend $20,000 to be in a room with people like that year in and year out, when I can have people like that around me every week, and we can have biweekly calls. And man, they have that group alone. It may be my group, but I have learned more and grown more from them than anybody else in this industry. So it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was my next question, was like, how has starting this kind of like co-hosting mastermind group that you've done, like what impacts has that had on your business, and has that brought value to you while you're also, organizing all this? You've been able to grow your business as well, or how's that impacted you?
Yeah, it really has. I mean, like I said, everybody in that mastermind group motivates me. It motivates me to be better. It motivates me to take my business to the next level, because if I'm leading a group of people, I've got to be able to, to do what I'm speaking, right? So it's kind of helped me grow my business as well. And then there's people in that group that are just really great at certain aspects of this business, and I've learned a ton from them. So I'm not an expert in every single part of short-term rentals. There's areas that I'm really, really good at. And then there's areas that I call on some of you guys and say, hey, help me out. What are you doing here? And organization in the beginning was one of my downfalls, is, having the spreadsheets and the different things like that. And a few of the members had some things that they were doing that I implemented. And we shared lots and lots of documents early on, back and forth. And that stuff has really, really helped me. But more importantly, just being able to hear the stories and the success stories. And, Austin, you're one. I think you had 0 co-host properties in June when we started that group. And I think you're up to 7 right now.
So that's correct. So 7, and just have one sign a contract the other week. So yeah, I'm super excited about it. I think to piggyback off of what you said, the most valuable part about it to me is that it's a group of people that all are on the same mission. And with that being said, kind of what you were saying about everybody in the group has a specific skill set, or certain people are better at certain things that you're not as good at, and they can kind of help you fill that gap. So I know that there's certain people, like a weakness of mine may be this, but I know so and so in the group is tremendously good at this, and having that free access to just reach out to them and have them kind of fill the gap for me, and inform me on those things, have been tremendously valuable. And then I know that people will come to me for the certain things that I'm very strong at in this industry, and then that's my turn to kind of give back to them. So I think testimonial for your mastermind group, it has been tremendously valuable to growing my business. I don't know if I'd be half of where I'm at without the shortcuts and the cheat codes that kind of are provided by all the members, and it's just been awesome, man. So I just want to say thank you for starting that, because that was a game changer, dude.
Yeah, it really was. And, and like I said, I'm getting ready to join another mastermind, that I'm going to pay for, because I want to take my, coaching business, and level it up and be able to help more people. And so I found found a mastermind group that, this gentleman, his name is Mike Kitko. He's wrote a couple of books. He's got a pretty awesome mastermind. I think he's got 38 people in his mastermind that are paying him like $1,000 a month to be a part of it. But man, he just has ideas and things that can take things to the next level. And I shared his podcast at our group last week, because he talked about how in this industry you have to pay for your friends, right? And it's not just this industry; it's to be successful. You got to pay for your friends. And what I mean by that is, who in your network, between your family and friends that you hang out with, or go to a bar on a Friday night and have a couple of drinks with, can you talk to about this business that can help you? And the answer is 0. There's really nobody in your immediate, circle that you've had for your entire life that can actually understand what we do, and the trajectory that we're on, and how we're growing and doing this business. So in order to grow, you got to be in a room with like-minded people. You got to be in a room with people that are going to help you succeed. And, in order to do that, you got to pay for your friends, right? And whether that be a mastermind program or a coaching program or an inner circle or an accelerator, it doesn't matter what it is. I never was a believer in any of that until I joined that program, and it has been a game changer. When you can have those conversations with people like that, it's life changing.
Think that's the hurdle up front is like you have this preconceived notion that like these groups are a scam or it's just a money scheme, and then you realize and you get involved in it like, okay, I'm paying this money, but also I'm saving so much more money because if I would have tried to figure this out on my own, I would have lost money doing it. So to me, it's almost essential, and it's just a cost to play the game. But I wanted to ask you, so is this new mastermind you're considering joining? It doesn't sound like it's co-hosting related. So what is the focus here that you're trying to improve in your game by joining it?
I mean, my entire life, even in the corporate retail world, I mean, my job was teaching, training, and coaching, right? I mean, that's what I've done. It's always been a passion of mine. It's something I'm really good at. And that's what this guy does. He elevates it to a whole new level. So if I want to continue to be able to teach, train, and coach people to be successful, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the co-hosting space. Currently, it's in the co-hosting space. On a side note, my wife, we're talking about her starting a consulting business in the daycare industry where, there are so many daycares that are struggling, and she is really, really good at what she does. And she can go into daycare centers and help these owners figure out how to make more money and be more profitable and, keep employees. So, I mean, there's so many avenues of coaching that can be explored. And right now it's in co-hosting for me, but that could develop into business coaching or anything else down the road. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I love doing it. I love having those weekly conversations. And, when I go to bed at night and I hear that, somebody from our group or my, coaching group that I'm in right now and had a huge win, I mean, that there is nothing, they talk about dopamine levels, on things that make you feel good. There is nothing that makes you feel better than to see somebody else succeed.
So I want to circle back to the paying for your friends thing. So I think the problem is that people get weary is because I think that we're saying it wrong. I think we're telling everybody that they have to pay for their friends, which I guess in essence you do. But really, I think what it is an entrance fee into that circle, right? Because once I leave this circle, like for instance, if Austin left your group tomorrow, you guys wouldn't stop talking. It wouldn't change the relationship. You have the relationship still, right? He's just not paying to have that group relationship at this separate time on this certain day, but he still has that relationship he's built with you. So really, I think what people need to understand is that it's an entrance fee into a circle. It's an entrance fee to get around the people that are like, build the relationships you like, build relationships with some, build relationships with none, have a close relationship with people, right? I met Austin in the airport. I paid $600 to meet him. Not really. I paid for the flight, but I met Austin in the airport. But, it's the same type of deal. So I think that people need to understand is that it's not we're saying go out there and spend money to go and be people's friends or this and that. But if you need someone to talk to and you have to spend money to do that, do that. Network with people, add as many people as possible on your friends list, do what you got to do, have conversations with people, exchange phone numbers, exchange ideas, and it's way easier. I text Austin shit all the time. I'm like, hey, what do you do about this? What do you do about that? So I think really it's just paying to the entrance fee to build those friendships and then moving them on. And I think that's awesome that you're joining a leadership program or a coaching program. I kind of lump it all into leadership.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. I've been in your position. I've had several hundred employees at a time. So I think that's awesome. It's awesome. So.
And I think what's also really important for it, and no matter what program you join, it doesn't matter what it is, you've got to go into it with what you want to get out of it and what your goals are in that group, right? I mean, you're going to learn things that weren't part of your goals. But when I joined Bill's accelerator program, I knew what I wanted to get out of that group, and I made sure I did it. And I did a testimonial for him for when he did the second accelerator program, and I said, look, this program, which costs $6,000-7,000, whatever it was, I'm going to make tenfold that in the next 12 months because of this program. And that was my goal, right? And I did. And within 12 months of that program, I exceeded $60,000 of revenue for my family that I wouldn't have had before I had that group. And so I went in there with a target, with a goal, and then, grew from there. So I think it's important not just to join a group to join it. You got to join whatever program you're going to be with targeted goals on what you want to get out of it.
Yeah, it's dependent on you. There's a lot of people that join.
Everybody's got different goals. So you got to know what your goals are and what you want to do. And I'll say the best thing was week 1 of his program, talks about, it's all about, your life plan, and really sitting down and saying, okay, not what's your 30-year goal being retired and blah, blah, blah. It's, what's your 6-month goal? What's your 12-month goal? What's your 5-year goal? And really writing that down and then figuring out a plan to achieve those goals. And I think that was really eye-opening for me because, we all work really, really hard and we work a lot of hours. But if you don't have something that you're working towards, it sometimes can get pretty repetitive and boring. So when you can see how you're making it towards those future goals, it's definitely pretty awesome.
Yeah. You got to have, I've seen lots of people, and I'm sure you've seen it, that people that join groups and they're just not there. They're just there thinking that they paid the money and everything's going to work out. But it's like, it's all dependent on you and the work that you put in and the effort that you put in and, the mindset that you have. Really, it could be a waste of your money. It could not. More than likely it's not if you're going in there for the right reasons.
Yep. And that's really true. I've met some people in this space that paid for this program and then didn't get enough out of that. Then they paid for another program and then they paid for another program and they're, $40,000 or $50,000 into programs and they're still looking for someone to tell them what to do. Right. And, at some point you have to say, you know what, I've learned everything that I can learn. Now it's just time to act. It's time to take action. Like I just have to do it. And that's where the self responsibility and self accountability comes in and knowing what you're getting out of that group, because there will be people that continue to pay for groups for a decade and they're still in the same position they were 10 years ago because they're not taking action.
I think I would agree 100%. They're just kind of like success zombies, and they can consume all the content, but they don't take the action, and that's like the most important part, because really as an entrepreneur, in order to be successful, you kind of need to keep moving the ball forward down the field, every single day. So it's kind of almost like those kind of folks, it's really not, it just may not be for them. That might not, entrepreneurship may not be for them. So but yeah, I've unfortunately seen kind of those people first, and I'm a firm believer in like, hey, like, just get started. Like a mentor I had before I started co-hosting, I had a call with him, and he basically told me, well, Andrew, he was on you guys both know Andrew White was on the podcast previously. And he told me that on the first call, he said, okay, well, what are you struggling with your first client? And I said, I don't have a client yet. He said, okay, well, why am I having a call with you? Go get a client first, and then we'll go figure it out. And that was very impactful to me, because it was like, he's like, dude, you're just like kind of here, like trying to get tips and stuff. But, anyways, it was very important that he kind of highlighted like, hey, you need to go and you need to get started first. You can join these groups, and it will help you accelerate. But if you have nothing to go off of, like, what's the point of paying for all these groups? You just got to get started.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I think putting a price tag too on it, like paying for it, is important, because with that price tag, if you sign up for a free call, I've signed up for so many free calls on Facebook or so and so influencer, whatever is having a free webinar, whatever. I would say 80% of those calls I don't even end up getting on, because I'm like, whatever. But when you have a price tag to it and you're paying for it, you're kind of like, you're accountable just like everyone else is accountable. So you kind of expected to show up.
Yep. And I think that's important. When I started my most recent coaching program and, when I was interviewing, I think I interviewed 10 people to be able to join it. And a few of them were hesitant because of the price tag. And I said, look, if I did this for free, you have no reason to show up every Wednesday at 8 p.m. for our call. And then it becomes a waste of my time, because I'm hopping on a call on Wednesdays for an hour that I'm taking away from my family for someone that doesn't have a vested interest. Right. So if you don't have a vested interest into it, you're not going to put in your all. When you have a little bit of a vested interest, and it doesn't need to be $20,000, my program was $1,200. I mean, we're talking $100 a call. It wasn't major, and then still access beyond that. So, but it makes you have a vested interest to show up and put in the work.
Yeah, and I think there has to be a price tag to it too for people like you that are hosting this. You're putting all your time and your effort in to giving these people everything you've got, and you need money for that. And you also need money because I know, like you're going to utilize those funds to essentially grow your business and make the program continue to improve the program and just make it better.
Yep. No, that's definitely the goals.
Well, people don't realize things cost money though either. So if you're doing a Zoom, 12 times a week, you still got to pay for Zoom, right? You still got to pay for this and that. So it's like, I mean, I think personally, I notice a lot of coaching programs. I don't think a lot of them make that much money. I think, depending on the coaching program, I think that the program that I'm in, I'm in Bill's program, and I think that he puts a lot of the money back into us. Honestly, I think he does. But I think there are probably some programs out there, I'm sure, where it's like you don't, they keep a lot of it, but I mean, if your goal is to coach people, your goal is to feed back into those people. So at the end of the day, it's not like I'm just doing this to make money. I'm really doing this to better somebody else's life. Because like you said, the dopamine that you get from Austin saying, "Hey, I landed another deal. Check this out. This is how I did it. I did what you told me to do." You're over here like, "Hell yeah, man. Good job. Like, awesome." So it's really, and it helps you push you to the next level though, right? Because you might have been on the fence about something and then he told you he did it and you're like, okay, now I have to go do it because he just kind of just showed me up. Now I don't have a choice. But so yeah, so I mean, it's not a hesitant thing. I want to change the subject. I apologize. So let's change it up a little bit. I want to ask you a question about the contract, your co-host contract. In your co-host contract, do you have a clause? I've seen Austin's before, and I don't remember seeing that clause in there. Do you have a clause that the contract could be assumable? If you decide that you want to sell your contracts and exit out or whatnot, have you put that inside of your contract?
I didn't originally, but it is in my new contract. So, because I do, envision, someday down the road, potentially selling the co-host business. Maybe it's a decade, maybe it's two. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds completely. But it is going to be something that is changed. Well, it is changed now in the contract to make it an assumable, to be able to, transfer to somebody else if that time ever comes.
Gives you an option.
Yep. Because, as you guys talked with Patrick, selling businesses and this is a totally different subject, but, over the next decade, there's going to be, my cousin who's an attorney, told me, he said, over the next decade, there's going to be over $1 trillion worth of businesses that have to change hands because the baby boomers, who are all the business owners or the majority of the business owners in America, are ready to retire. They all have to sell their businesses. They all want to get out and they all want to retire. So there's going to be over $1 trillion worth of businesses that change owners over the next decade. So it's important to be able to have that exit plan to be able to make that a profitable transaction when that comes.
Definitely. And I know that's a short-term rental podcast, but I'd love to get Cody Sanchez. But I mean, yeah, she says the same things about businesses turning over, right? So, and it's true. You see them for sale everywhere. I guess I just joined a Facebook group yesterday, businesses for sale by owner or whatnot, because I saw a lot of my friends were in it, and I was like, that's interesting, So, yeah, you never know what the world's going to hold. That's why I asked you about the contracts. Because I was just thinking last night, like, oh, you know what? I got to go out the gate with a contract that says it could be assumable. Because who knows? What if I am like, oh, what if I'm balls to the wall and I have 100 listings and I'm like, okay, now I want to get rid of these and go do something else. But yeah, so that's what I was wondering about. So that's where I was getting at with that.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, in any business you get into, you got to go into it with an exit plan. Whether it be a 5-year exit plan or a 20-year exit plan, but you need to know what that exit plan is before you get into that business.
Yeah, I think another thing is like how turnkey is your business? Like what are your SOPs? And like this is something I'm always trying to improve on is how flawless is your system so somebody that's interested in buying this can come in, literally turn the key and say, "Hey, Austin set up everything on the back end. All the systems and processes are dialed in. I really don't have to do anything but oversee everything." And I think that should be the end goal for us anyways in the way that we're structuring our co-hosting businesses. We want to eventually pull out and do, very little of the day-to-day stuff. I know that's your goal, as somewhat as well too, Joe. So I think if you're definitely trying to build something that's sellable, you want to make sure that you have all of that dialed in because nobody's going to want to buy your business if they have to come in and figure it all out. So just a plug for every business owner that's building something, make sure that you have those operating procedures and make it, as streamlined as possible. And that to me, that's a really challenging part of doing this.
Yep. I actually just recently signed up for to be able to start recording what I do on Loom. So I can start, getting those SOPs a little bit more in place. So when I go in and do my listing optimization, whether I'm going in to run Facebook ads, whether I'm going in to do whatever. So I'm currently building my video back end on how to's and getting those SOPs in place. And that, in my opinion, is way more powerful than a written document that says do this. Because you can say, hey, here's a video. This is exactly what you need to do, and let me share that with you.
Yeah, and Matt keeps holding me accountable to getting a VA, so I really need to pull the trigger on that. But what I want to do is I'm doing that too. So I'm building out my Loom videos and stuff like that. I realized I ran out of my free trial, and one of my videos was cut off, so I wasted my time anyways. But the point is, I'm thinking about like the way I really want to do it is train the VA, and then me make my Loom videos, but try and get this VA implemented as soon as possible. And then I really want to make it a highlight that this is they're kind of going to start being more of their responsibility with my oversight, and they will be building out SOPs. And then I'll kind of look over and say, okay, that's great. I like the way you did this. But it's kind of like if they're going to be the ones doing it, have them build out the SOPs too. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I'm doing a little bit of both now. My goal is kind of try and get that built out by somebody else based on the way I do things.
Yep. No, I agree. 100%.
Nice.
I think you're going to pay more. You're going to need a VA that's going to have experience to help you build that out like that. If you're going to have them do the Loom videos for you, unless they ride with you for 6 to 8 months and you set up new listings in between then and all that, and they and they know exactly the process, right? But if they don't have experience, I don't think you're going to be able to throw them in and just be like, oh,
No.
film a video on this, right? So you're going to have to put some kind of work into it. Or maybe you film the videos and maybe they do a written process document or something of that sort, right?
Yeah. So I think combined with me doing the Loom videos, and then I think it comes down to like, you have to be involved and you have to give them your time up front. So also like training, and we have to build out some kind of training schedule, whether it's 2 to 3 hours a day or whatever, until all the nuts and bolts are kind of worked out. And then after that, once they're trained, they'll already understand how to do these things. And then at that point, they can create the SOPs for you. So that's my plan, at least. It could be the wrong answer, but that's, we'll see how it goes. I can report back once we do it.
Yep, there's definitely not a cookie cutter way to do it all. So, there's definitely lots of options there. So, and everybody's going to be able to do it a little bit different. As long as it works for you and your business, that's what matters.
Yeah. So, do you make all your co-host clients use the same door locks and StayFi if you use that or things like that?
Yeah, so we have a standard setup fee, which includes switching over to a Schlagen code, StayFi system. I take it back. My newest property I'm taking over next week is going to be the first property that I have that has a Yale, because their door up front is a Anderson door, and a Schlagen code won't go on it. It has to be a almost like a storm door type door lock. So I'm going to be switching and trying that, and because it's the only thing that'll work. Currently, their property manager just gives every single guest the same garage code to open the garage door to get into the house, which is, asinine in my opinion. But, so I'm working on getting that system in place. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to have to use remote lock again because OwnerRez had switched over to where I can do everything through OwnerRez for Schlagen code and not have to use remote lock. So,
but you overlay with Hospitable, right?
I do.
Can you just use it through Hospitable? instead of having to pay for remote lock?
Since
You already
I'm
pay
not
for hospitable.
I might be able to, but I'm not API connected with Hospitable. So I was nervous on how that would all work. And, the small fee through OwnerRes, which is $4 a month per property, is, to know that it's 100% all the time, I'm good with it. So
I'd check it out. I think it's connected.
Oh, I was just going to say this might be a stupid question, but can you explain what just for my own knowledge? I vaguely get it, but what does API integrated mean when you're saying like OwnerRes connected to the platforms? Does that mean basically the changes that take place in OwnerRes directly communicate to the platform?
yes. So everything that I do in OwnerRes goes right to the platform. So I don't make a change on anything in the Airbnb app at all. Everything is done through my OwnerRes account. So, whether it be switching pictures around or changing listing description or, putting in how many guests it is, everything is done in OwnerRes and moved over to Airbnb. So yeah, so I don't log into any of I do message through Airbnb accounts through my co-hosting things sometimes. Hospitable, I do like Hospitable, but because I'm not API connected in it, there's sometimes a lag time on messaging. So a lot of times I'm getting the Airbnb message first. So if it's through Airbnb, I'm typically responding back through Airbnb. But VRBO is the only reason why I still use Hospitable. And it's because you can't connect API connect with a bunch of different co-hosting accounts on VRBO. So I do have to log into each one to do listing optimization. I do have to log into each VRBO account to make changes. And so Hospitable gives me that messaging system to be able to not have to log into those accounts when I'm on the go. But I do at least once or twice a week log into each account to do my listing opt.
So OwnerRes API integrates with Airbnb, but OwnerRes does not work directly with VRBO.
It does for your own account, but when you're managing and co-hosting other accounts, it's a tricky. They have some rules and regulations because they don't. VRBO doesn't have a co-host option, right? So you have to do everything through the owner's account, no matter what. So the API connection becomes a little more difficult that way.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think they link them differently between Hospitable and OwnerRes. I think Hospitable, you just give them a listing number or whatnot, and then it links it through that way or maps it. But since there's different accounts on Verbo, he can have the same account on Airbnb and just add himself to all of them.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So yeah,
what a pain in the ass.
Yes, one of these days someone will come up with a system that works for everything, but I'm not holding my breath. I did try Guesty in the very, very beginning, but that was not for me. So the OwnerRes Hospitable has been fantastic. I love the reports that I can generate for my owners. Super easy. Get in there and get the reporting system with all of my review numbers. It gives me my ADR, revenue, how many guests, how many nights, all these reports that I can put together in seconds at the end of the month to be able to send to my owners, which is pretty awesome.
I hear it's hard to set up. Was it hard to set up?
Everyone says that. I did it myself. It took me about 2 days. I wanted to do it myself because if I paid somebody else to set it up for me, I wouldn't be an expert, right? So I watched the videos and I set it up myself, and I made a couple mistakes along the way and called a couple people and had a couple questions that I knew that had OwnerRes accounts. But I did it myself, and it took me about two days, probably 3 days total, but 2 days really going in and watching videos and doing a little bit at a time.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you get a lot more options on a Reds. I feel like Hospitable is real easy, especially if you're first starting. Like, you could set it up, like, it pretty much just tells you how to do it. For the most part, it's really easy. I feel OwnerRes is pretty complex, but it does a lot of complex things that other people don't do, right? It'll send a rental agreement and could charge a deposit and all those types of things. So I think that's I'm debating on switching. I've been debating forever, but I don't want to pay for both.
Being able to the direct booking connection to be able to do my landing pages. So I have a landing page built for every single property through Market My STR. So that links right into my OwnerRes calendar, which makes that super easy. I mean, everything just works together really well. Touch day, I can set up, on touch day, and it directly sends that message to the guests, 7 days before they check in, so it just, it all works together really well through OwnerRez. So I definitely love it.
How important is the automation to you in your business?
I mean, I travel a lot now. So, if you're in the air and, someone sends a message, you're going to get punished if you're not answering back within the hour. Right. So, so that is one thing that Hospitable does, for someone that comes in and sends an inquiry. Hospitable does have that messaging system. That's the one thing that OwnerRez is supposed to have by the end of this quarter. So we'll see. But, but Hospitable is one of the few places that have that inquiry auto message that goes out. And, the quicker you can respond to your guests, the better it is. So having those auto messages are huge. But then, I have 7 or 8 auto messages that go out, the 7 days prior to stay, the 3 days prior to stay. And actually the STR data guy, or not data, what's Eric Corson's thing? He's the Tech Talk. He's got the STR Tech Talk, and he just got me at the beginning of March, set me up on his system to send out the auto emails to be able to offer that extra night stay. I picked up 7 nights extra in 1 month because of that auto email that goes out. So
you should have told me. I was just with him.
Yep. He got on a call with me and we did it together. He helped me kind of figure it out to make sure I was good to go. He is pretty awesome at that kind of stuff. And so I message him because I let him know how many I got just in the month of March alone. So
yeah, shout him out because he listens. He listens to the podcast. Him and I were in Gulf Shores last week, and he was like, "Oh man, when you come with another episode?" So he'll be excited that he gets a good shout out in this. So STR Tech Talk on Facebook, yes. Eric Corson. Yeah, he's like a diabolical genius. He came up with all kinds of stuff. Like he figured out some market my STR glitch with something else, and he was like, "No, you guys need to fix this." So there was some integration that he was able to patch. I don't know what it was. I don't know if he just gets bored or what, but yeah, he'll do all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yep. He's definitely really great on that. And, definitely helped me make more money for my owners last month, so, just in 1 month to be able to get 7 extra nights. If I can get 5 extra nights a month, for my owners over the next, 12 months, that's going to be a lot more money in their pocket, which is going to make, my business more money as well.
I'll send you his affiliate link so he gets his cut.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is this that auto message that kind of goes out 5 to 7 days before the guest gets there, offering a discount based on calendar availability? Is that kind of what you're talking? Because if that's what it is, yeah, I set that up this weekend actually. So, and I played with it to make sure all the messages did go out in the right way in the right scenario. And his little page that you shared with me, man, that was awesome. So, I don't know the fella personally like y'all, but shout out to him.
Yes.
All right. You got anything else, Austin, you'd like to ask? I know we got we're a little running late today, so.
Yeah, no, I don't think I have anything.
Joe, you got anything?
Go ahead.
No, you're good. You don't have anything?
No, I'm good.
You got anything else you want to plug, Joe, or let us know about that's new, or?
No, I mean, if you want to find me, I'm Joe _the_ real estate guy on Instagram and TikTok. And so I, run some videos out there. And then by the end of this week, the co-host coach.com will be live. So if you want some information about the coaching program coming up or future programs, feel free to reach out. But, really, really appreciate you guys having me on. Enjoy these podcasts. Actually did a real estate agent podcast last week in St. Louis with a company. So, really enjoy doing these, and you guys are doing an awesome job, and love listening to them.
Thanks so much, Joe. And you know what? I'm going to throw this out here. Austin, surprise. So if anybody that does join your co-hosting program and they end up going from, getting 5 properties within 6 months or 8 months, we want to talk to them. We'll interview them. They can come on the show. Just let us know. Because I think it would be good to talk to them about, how your program is working and how being together and collectively together is working out. So, just put that out there too. So if you join and you kick ass, let us know. We'll talk to you about kicking ass. So.
Yep, awesome. And the big thing that we talk about in the program is how to do this legally. There's a borderline there in co-hosting versus property management. And, there's a lot of people in this space that are not doing it the right way. And the one thing as a realtor that we do, we go through 60 hours of training to become a real estate agent. At least in Missouri, it's a 60-hour class. I think it is. The entire class is about how to not go to jail, right? I mean, they don't teach us anything about real estate at all. In the entire real estate agent class, it is about how to follow laws and not get in trouble and not go to jail. So when you're getting into this space, it's just really, really important to understand your local and state laws to make sure you set it up the right way and do it in the legal aspect so you don't get into trouble down the road.
Yeah, and you continue education on not breaking the law every 2 years?
Yes, we have lots of continuing education. Actually, I got continuing education courses this afternoon that I got to do for my Missouri broker's license. So yes.
Awesome.
That's how you know.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Joe.
I was just going to say that's how you know you're an entrepreneur when you're on Sunday and you're filming podcasts and you're taking courses and your Sunday is a work day. So just plug in that because that's when we record.
Yep.
Every day is a work day.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
That's right.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Joe, for coming on. We really appreciate it. We really hope to have you on again and hear what's new with you. Thanks a lot, really. So go out there and follow him, everybody.
Yep. Appreciate it. Thanks again, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
The Co-Host Bros Podcast.